had a good rain last week, which saved me a trip to the pond for some water. Looks like probably about 6 inches of rain. The back 3 piers are now poured and filled with concrete. So we've got now a few decisions to make. We've got the front beam on the 3 piers, and that's looking pretty good. And so we need to do the same thing for this back beam, which means I'm gonna have to raise this beam, basically put another cinder block in there, raise it to about a height of about 3 cinder blocks so that I can put it on these back piers. So I'll need to slowly ratchet that up again. And then we've had a couple different solutions here. So this wasn't a full block. So in this case, I just put in some bricks, mortared in some bricks and some flat rocks, and then smoothed it over with the mortar to do this foundation. And then on this one, it was also a partial block, and I tried a different approach. In this case, you can sort of see the line I scribed in here. It was a little bit over half the height of the block, so I'm going to try chipping the top of this block off down to the level of the concrete that I poured inside that. I already made a mistake and went ahead and bent the strong tie, but I think that'll be okay. And then this other one ended up being just about perfect, which is good. It just is even with the top of the third brick. So we're good there. And then in terms of this beam, it's the longest of the beams, of the 2 beams, which is good because we've got significant rot on this end, which is fine. You can probably see that overhangs by about a foot, maybe even 1.5 feet, so we don't really need it. This part is what I'm worried about, and that looks solid. But we've also got some rot on the other side, of course. So the good news is it's longer than the front beam. But you can see in here, we've got significant rot, and I'm not sure what I'm going to need to do with this. I need to treat it probably, because this is 1.5 feet inside the beam now, and that's where the log's going to lie. And so I've already pulled out this side log, and that's the first log on the right side. If you remember when we labeled them, this is RA1, right side. First row of logs is A, and then the first log in the series is 1. So that's RA1. So that's going to be this left side of the cabin, well, the right side, R for right. So I want to get this U lined up, which is the front beam, this side beam, and then which is really the first log, RA1, and then the back beam. If I can get this U arranged more or less square, I'm going to rebuild the far side, which is the left side, probably with new logs, because almost all of those are rotten. And you can even see on this side, RA is got significant rot on the outside, but it's still a sizable timber. So if you look on the inside, it's actually in good shape, and it's at least 2 to 3 inches thick here, even in its most narrow point here, which is about right here, or even toward the end you can see where some of this is rotted off. It's still a, you know, it's a 10 to 12 inch wide board that's very solid. So it's, it could be used, but I just think from a aesthetic standpoint, I'm probably going to want to replace this log, either find a similar replacement that I can try, or just get a new log and try and carve it to match it, because this is a 16-foot board or log, and it's the first one on the right side. So I want to make sure that that fits. So a lot of decisions to make here. Going to try and figure that out and get back to you soon. After putting some the logs up as a template of sorts to dry fit some of the corners, just to make sure our measurements and our beams are positioned well, and spending last night thinking through the measurements and spending some time this morning doing some remeasuring, I think we're going to be okay. We're definitely going to want to replace this side beam here, good old RA1. It's going to need to replace that, but it's a good template for, you know, where the logs are going to fit, and it looks like our beams are positioned well. I went ahead and measured, took another beam here from the front, and this was a I can't remember the actual one it was, but it was a H or an I log, so it's high up, and it's representative of the full length of the logs that are going to be in place. And it's also important because it's a single log. It's not divided by the door that's going to be here or the window that was here, so we don't have to use a combination of logs. It's a single log. And as I measured from the inside cut on the far end to the inside cut here, which is, this is what I mean by the inside cut, and this is where the log rests on the lower log, and you can see where it would rest here. These two this inside is exactly 19 feet, 228 inches, and I measured it on the back log as well with the representative log, and we're looking, believe it or not, at the exact same measurement. It's 228 inches from inside to inside on that back log. So with those being two good representative logs of the front and the back, I think, you know, that's going to show us again where this combination is going to be and where it's going to set on the beam. So all that to say, it looks like our measurements are correct and the beams are in a good spot. I even measured from this beam, from this edge of the beam over to the other side over there, and we are within a ½ inch of the left and the right side, or within a ½ inch of each other from the front of the beam. So with all this irregular timber and logs, that's really, really good. So our next step's going to be, I need to position this back beam a little bit better. So I'm going to need to take these logs off again and move this. You can see it's just overhanging about an inch or so here. And I need that to be longer because this side is, you know, almost probably 8 or 9 inches of an overhang. So we really just want this to overhang about 3 inches. So I'll need to slide that beam down a little bit, take those logs off and slide that down. And then I think we can go ahead and position these. I'll probably want to put a little bit of mortar underneath some of these gaps here and kind of firm up the piers, but looks like they're all positioned well and we'll be in a good place to start putting the logs in. That's gonna be the biggest thing now, is just finding some replacement logs. So if we replace this log, you know, that will allow me to, the logs above it, I went and looked at the videos last night, some of the previous ones, and you know, the logs that stack up on this right side here are in pretty good shape. This one is by far the worst one. And so if we replace this one, I think the other logs will be fine. And so then we can really build this right side and start taking the cabin up on this side. So that's where we're at. Big milestone to really validate that we've built the foundation in the right place. And so I think we're now in a process of just finding replacement logs and fitting those together as best we can. So stay tuned.